Are there any events mentioned in the prophecy about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, as described in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, that have yet to be fulfilled? Hello, my name is Jairo Torres, and in this presentation, I invite you to explore what the Bible reveals as prophecy and what history confirms regarding this topic. This initial presentation serves as an overview and is the first of 5 parts, where we will examine the sequence of events in greater detail. I begin by praying and asking the Holy Spirit to guide us on this journey. Let us remember what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13:12. Now I know in part. This is where we all start with the limited understanding we have. Jesus foretold the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem as recorded in Matthew 24:2, Mark 13:2, and Luke 21:6. This announcement led the disciples to ask 3 questions. First, when will these things happen? Second, what will be the signs when these things are about to take place? And third, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Each gospel writer focuses on 2 of these questions, as shown by the differently colored texts. However, despite each gospel highlights only 2 questions, all 3 of Jesus' responses are included by the evangelists. The next section covers the events described in Matthew 24:4-14, Mark 13 from 5-13, and Luke 21 from 8-19. These passages refer to occurrences that were expected to take place in the years after Jesus' death and resurrection, but before the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed. Notably, these accounts do not mention any signs related to the temple destructions. The second part of this series explores these topics more thoroughly. The events described in Matthew 24:15-21, Mark 13:14-19, and Luke 21:20-24 pertain to particular signs that predict the upcoming destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. The third installment in this series explores these elements more thoroughly. The events described in Matthew 24:22 and Mark 13:20 link prophecies from the Old Testament with those in the New Testament. The fourth installment in this series explore these connections more thoroughly. Additionally, the passages in Matthew 24 from 23-26 and Mark 13:21-23 reinforce Jesus' early warning about false prophets who will be capable of performing miracle signs and impressive wonders that will astonish and mislead many people. The passages described in Matthew 24:27-31, Mark 13:24-27, and Luke 21:25-28 address the disciples' last inquiry about Jesus' coming and the end times. This is explored thoroughly in the fifth installment of this series. The events described in Matthew 24:27-31 are divided into 2 parts in the Gospel of Luke, specifically in Luke 21 from 25-28 and Luke 17:22-37. It is noteworthy that both Gospels link the coming of the Son of Man to a flash of lightning, lighting up the sky. Similarly, the judgment is illustrated by comparing it to the destruction of Sodom, where fire and brimstone fell from heaven. Another interesting point in Luke 17 is the distinction made between those who will be taken and those who will not. The ones taken are those who will face death, as mentioned in Luke 17:37, and Matthew 24:28, where Jesus responds to the question of where they will be taken. The passage states, where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered. This contrasts sharply with those who take these verses as part of the common interpretation of the rapture, which suggests that the chosen are taken by God, whereas the text indicates the opposite. Thank you for listening. Any insights that help us better understand the scriptures are always appreciated. Blessings, Jairo.